Yeah. So, but that's just me.
Okay. Ooh, that's a little.
Here we go. Here, I'm gonna come over there and help you.
Oh, sorry, my volume was down.
If you hook your, do you have a presentation that you have to hook
No,
to?
no,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just gonna speak. Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you want to, you can hook your, the HDMI from the computer to here, and then everyone can see like the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? If you want, or you
Yeah.
can just stand right there.
No, let's do that.
Okay.
Great idea.
I'm not good with like the tech.
No, that's okay.
Like I need help.
Also, like, I don't even know where to turn this on.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think the HDMI outlet is on this side.
Okay.
So we should, yep, all we gotta do is plug this in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can launch them.
I've been watching.
That is.
I've only watched the first couple episodes.
You gotta get to episode 3, that's when you get hooked. At episode 3, you binge watch first.
Yeah, you go. It can save a lot of time.
Yeah.
It should. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
That way it'll, yeah, you should be good.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, this is a little weird for me.
There you go. Good luck.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get started here soon. We're getting a little, it's about 12:05. So I think anybody that's going to hop on would be on already. So, what we're going to talk about today is the importance of working with a local lender, how it could build your business, and really get things established for you. And then you'll also hear from Deanne Lane, who, thank you so much for coming today, is going to give some words of encouragement and kind of tell his story on what he does and how working with a local lender has really helped him get a lot of clients closed. So the first thing when you're looking at, working with a client or a buyer, you want to know, one, are they pre-approved, right? And if they are, the second part of it is, who are they pre-approved with? And the reason why this is important is for multiple reasons that we're going to go over today, but most importantly is that you want to get your client into a home, right? You want the customer to have their most competitive advantage of when they present their offer, making sure that they have all the tools necessary and everything that they can do to get their offer accepted. So the reason why we want to work local versus a bigger bank, or maybe even some aren't that are local as well, there's competitive advantages of using our company. So when we say a big bank, we're thinking like Chase, we're thinking Huntington, we're thinking Quicken Loans, right? These are big banks that when your client comes to you pre-approved, they've probably gone and talked to one of those places, because the first thing that comes to their mind for financing is, I should talk to my bank. So they go into their bank, they get their pre-approval, and they come to you and say, I want to get a house. Or they haven't talked to anybody and they need a recommendation for a lender as well. So the bigger banks, when they process loan applications, they take everything that they receive from their multiple different branch locations and they send it to one centralized mortgage processing center. So that means if you call your bank today and you say, I want to refinance, if you already own a home, or you go to your bank and you say, I want a pre-approval, they take those applications and they send it more than likely to somewhere that's out of state. So what that means is somebody that is processing your customer's loan, and the underwriters that are working on the application are all typically 99% of the time out of state if you're working with a big bank. Well, how can that, like, what does that mean to you? Like, how does that impact your client? Well, it impacts your client because the bigger banks don't prioritize purchases. So they don't care whether the client is a purchase or a refinance. They're processing everything in one centralized location, which we all know when we have contract dates and closing times, we have to make sure that our client closes on time, or they could be out of contract. So you want the process to go as smoothly as possible, and you want to make sure that your client isn't going to have to deal with delays that are outside of their control, right? They can't control how many people are coming into the bank or processing an application. The other biggest thing with that being said as well is your appraisers. So when you work with a bigger bank, they don't have relationships with local appraisers because they're not using them on a consistent basis. So if they go to Huntington and Huntington hasn't done, you know, a loan in that area, or they have a ton of loans in that area, they might be using whatever appraiser that they can get, where they're not necessarily using a local appraiser that knows the area. Like with our company, because we're a local lender, we have a panel of appraisers that work in the counties that we serve, because we only do local loans here. We don't send anything out of state. We don't process anything out of state. Everything is done right here. So we literally have a person in our office that handles just our appraisers. So when we get a contract in, they find a local appraiser that knows the area. So we're not pulling somebody from, you know, counties over that maybe they don't know the area as well. So appraisers are going to be more efficient, faster, and hopefully, you know, a more accurate appraised value. Also, because we do have our appraisal person in our office that deals directly with us, if they have any issues with comps or anything like that, we have somebody that works on our behalf and on your behalf, because you're working with our company, that can handle the transaction if there's any appraisal issues that come up. And it's been like, we absolutely love having them. That's something new that we just received in the past 6 months, because we know that appraisers are taking a little bit longer than they were, you know, 2 years ago. So that's another reason why you want to make sure that the person that you're working with is properly qualified. Now, going a little bit further, so when you look at banks across, you know, the country as a whole, you can literally go and get a loan anywhere, right? You can go online, you can do an application there, you can go to your bank, you could call us. Like, what are the major differences? The biggest differences are, you know, we don't have additional overlays when it comes to our financing. So if a client comes to us and they want to get pre-approved, when we look at qualifying that buyer, we're going to look at directly what Fannie, Freddie, and FHA guidelines need. So when I say a guideline, what does that mean? A guideline means, like, if a client has a 50% debt to income ratio, FHA will take that, right? But a different bank might say, no, we only go up to a 45% debt to income ratio. So now you've just lost 5% with that client, just because the bank puts their own guidelines on how they process mortgages, because they don't do just mortgages, right? They have checking accounts, they have savings accounts, they have auto loans. They are working with a lot of other factors. So the bank might say, you know, we don't want to take risky clients that have 580 credit scores. We want to take clients that have 700 credit scores. So they could even put additional credit score overlays as well. So if they say, okay, we're not going to take any client below a 640. So if that client has a 629, they're automatically not able to be approved with that particular lender. And when COVID hit, the risk of, you know, people losing their jobs and people, you know, getting laid off, or just people not even being able to make their mortgage payments, it's a risk for the banks to lend. So there was institutions all over that raised the minimum credit scores. Luckily, cross country did not do that. So we can go down to as low as 500 with our credit scores. If the borrower is under a 580 credit score, the guidelines are definitely stricter. They have to have a minimum of 10% down and have 6 months in reserves. Now, with that being said, it does not mean that the customer is automatically going to get approved if they have a 500 credit score. They have to have other good compensating factors. But, you know, if we can get one or two more loans of a customer qualified because they went to their bank and their bank said no, and then they came to us and we got them qualified, that's where you really want to make sure you're giving that client the opportunity for a second opinion. Because if we don't educate our agents or educate the clients, no one's going to know that these things exist. So it's important to understand that if you talk to anybody in your sphere or any of your clients and they tell you I didn't get qualified, you always want to send them to us for a second opinion, because we have all kinds of different programs or not as strict guidelines, and we could potentially get the client approved. We also have credit repair resources. So if the customer does come to us and they're not able to get qualified at that point, we can easily work with them on their credit and get their credit to where it needs to be. The other things to look at too is, if they have, we don't have the overlays on the credit scores, but even like the debt to income ratios, there's been banks that won't take significant derogatory events like bankruptcies or foreclosures. Their timing requirements for those could be longer in most cases. So we, again, underwrite directly to what those programs are telling us. And then if we get an approval, then, we can move forward. So a lot of people, especially, when you get a customer that's pre-approved, you're excited that they're pre-approved, right? You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to say anything, maybe because you're excited that they're pre-approved. But how do you know that they're pre-approved properly? Do you know that lender? Do you know if the lender looked at pay stubs? Do you know if the lender looked at their financials? Do you know if they looked at their full credit report, or did they just pull one credit report? This is advantages of working with people that specialize in mortgages, because that we're going to do it that up front, because that's all we do. So look at Rocket Mortgage, right? Quicken Loans advertises like crazy, online, get a mortgage in minutes. Does that even sound right, that you could get a mortgage in minutes? You go online and you could put in there that you make $10,000 every month. Well, if the client doesn't, who's properly qualifying the client? Who's evaluating income? And I'll give you guys an example, and I've used this before, but it's a really good example. I was working with this single mother, and she came in and she did the application online, because we have online applications too, but we have somebody that's, backing up, supporting, looking at the information. And the client told me that she was salaried and she made $5,000 every single month. She was guaranteed that $5,000. So when I started collecting her pay stubs, she only had $3,000 on her pay stubs. And I said, well, where is the extra $2,000? When we had our conversation, you had said that you were guaranteed the $5,000, and she got $2,000 from her boyfriend a month towards bills and childcare and everything else. So she thought that was an additional $2,000. So when I say that if you don't have somebody, checking this information, like on Rocket Mortgage, she went in and did it there, she would have printed out her pre-approval, taken it to an agent, and you could have showed her, 10, 15, 20 houses, and it would take weeks after they're under contract to find out that there was a mistake. So we take things a little bit of a step further when we're properly evaluating the client. And that's why when you're in a multiple offer situation, the seller is literally looking down to every last detail of who you're pre-approved with, because if you're working with a seasoned agent or somebody that's had a bad experience before, like they know that the paper that you're, handing in with your offer might not be the best pre-approval. So when you have a customer that comes to you and maybe they have another pre-approval already, there's numerous things that you can say, and Dan's going to talk about this with you on ways that have really worked for him. But you want to make sure you're putting the customer in the best position. So you can easily say to things. A couple examples that I like to use are, you're pre-approved with a national lender. Have you talked to anybody locally? If they say no, you could simply say, would you be open to talking to our preferred lender? They're right here in the office. You know, between me, Cliff, and Haley, there's a ton of loan officers that can help. And just simply asking them, would you be open to working with a local lender, because it's going to put you in the best advantage when you make your offer. They say no, okay, you ask them, and we'll have Dan talk about here in just a couple minutes. If they say yes, then you easily just provide us the information. We call the client, and then you can have peace of mind knowing that while you're showing that client homes, that they're properly pre-approved. Now, it doesn't mean that things don't come up in the transaction. I don't want people to know that, like, misinterpret that. Like, we just go about 3 layers deeper than almost any lender up front will ever go, because our relationship is with you guys, and we want to make sure that we're not giving you customers that aren't qualified, and then you're out there wasting your time showing them homes. I've had it happen both ways. I've had it happen where I did a second opinion. I was able to pre-approve the buyer for $20,000 to $50,000 more in purchase price. And then I've had it where the customer doesn't qualify at all, and the first lender improperly qualified them. And when I told them why they weren't qualified with us, I always do this. I give them specific reasons to go back to their first lender, and 9 times out of 10, they missed it. So it's really just peace of mind of knowing, you know, that you have a good pre-approval with that client. I'll let Dan talk a little bit more. He can go through some ways that has worked for him, and then we'll go over some other options.
Thank you. We're going to stand up right here. All right, hello. I'm not sure, I guess talk to you guys or talk to the community. Not good at public speaking. So my name's Danny Lane Makara. I'm 13 months in real estate. Real quick about me, and I think I'm closing my 95th deal. So it's been a wild year. And yeah, I couldn't have done that without my, of course, my lender. I only use Jessica, and I send a majority of my people there. I mean, there's a couple of things I use to do, you know, how I do to switch them, but I mean, really, it's why. I mean, why? Most of what, you know, we are a relationship-based business. That's what real estate is. Whether it's with your people, you know, really building relationships there is going to get referrals, you know, continued business. And then just happy people. But relationship business also means, like, with your referral partners, you want to build a relationship there, because as your relationships become stronger with, you know, your clients, you get more referrals. As your relationships become stronger with your you know, referral partners, your lenders, your title companies and stuff, you also get referrals from them, and, you know, more help and access, availability to them, because you're taking care of each other. So, I mean, just one example of, you know, why working with a local lender would be, one, it helps me win the offers for people. This year has been crazy. I think the most offers I've seen on a single house was 40 some that I was fighting for, and we won that one. but that it's been crazy. There's a lot of battles, and since I've primarily done a lot of buyers, there's been a lot of aggressive battles, and I've had to utilize my lender to almost as a weapon, because, and we'll just focus on the lending aspect of writing the offer right now. But one just happened last week. It was a $300,000 house, and I'd had these people for 4 months, and I needed them to get under contract. I had shown them 35 homes. And I was going to turn in my license if I didn't win this house, because they finally found, they hadn't written any offers, 35 homes, no offers. They finally found one that they liked. And they also had about a $500,000 property to sell. So I was, like, very interested in winning this offer. I wrote the offer, and you know, we went as high as my people were willing to go, which wasn't wasn't as high as I hoped they would, because in a multiple offer situation. And the listing agent practically told me I wasn't the highest sale price. on the phone. He was like, "You sure you don't want to include an escalation or anything?" He's one of those. But so I had Jessica call the listing agent and brag about my clients, and she did instantly. Actually, I texted the listing agent. I said, we got a really strong lender. There's no worries about my guy. The deal falling apart here. Matter of fact, my lender's so responsive. She's probably going to call you in like within 5 minutes. At the same time, I was talking to Jessica, and I was like, all right, call him now. She did. It was just it wowed him, I think, to the point where we did include and had a little escalation clause in there, and he sent the other offer, and we won over. The other offer was $15,000 higher than mine. So my clients ended up getting quite a good deal. But a lot of it just like, you think if I was like calling like this all happened at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday. Was it Saturday? It was a Saturday. Yeah, it was a battle at 8 o'clock at night on Saturday. If I was working with Huntington Bank, I mean, they're not that guy's, he might call the lender next month. But I mean, that is why, I mean, aside from more people get qualified, she's gotten 580s approved for me, which if I'd sent them anywhere else, they would have been told no. But a lot of the times when people show up with pre-approvals, like my client on Saturday, I mean, he had another pre-approval. I mean, he good credit, strong money. He's the type of guy that's like, yeah, I'm getting approved. I'll just go to my bank, give me a letter. Because you run into those guys a lot. And then one of the things I would say to them, because it is hard if somebody's been banking with the same bank. We're getting a little bit into how now. If somebody's banking with the same bank over and over, they have a relationship with the bank, they go there, they know the clerk Linda every day, they deposit, every week they deposit their checks. They're like, oh, I just go to my bank to take care of me. You just got to explain to them, because at the end of the day, they want the best deal. You might be best friends with a guy that sells cars, but if another dealership's offering the same car for $2,000 less, you're going to go to the other dealership. Friendship only carries you so far when it comes to money as well. And it was said, we are a relationship business, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with money. So when I talk to him, I say, okay, and you got a pre-approval from your bank, and I don't even bring it up until we're ready to write an offer. And one of the reasons is because Cross Country and Jessica are so responsive. We can do things, and she might not like this, but we can do things pretty last minute, like on my end. So it's like, okay, we're ready to write. I don't want to get into this conversation until we're ready to go. For the most part. So if they have a lender and they're ready to write an offer, I'll be like, hey, I know you said that your bank was giving you a good deal, but how like when you're buying a car, you always kind of shop around, you always go to the other dealership and check and see if there's a better price out there. I was like, there's a couple. I want you to just, if you would just go online and do this app, it's going to take you like 5 minutes, and then what's going to happen is you're going to we're going to get a pre-approval and get an opinion from her, because it's going to help us as far as winning this house. And I'll tell them, and I'm just going to tell you, I tell them, I don't care who you use. I said, I really don't care who you use. The reason that I want you to do this is because I think it's going to help us win. I said, at the end of the day, I want you to go with whoever gives you the best deal, whoever saves you the most money. Money is money. I get it, but she's one of the top lenders in Ohio. Her name carries a lot of weight in this area, and she'll answer the phone at 8 o'clock at night, and she'll call the listing agent for us. And I know you love this house, and I just really work well with her. If you could just get a second opinion. And then if I can get them to do the app, which is super easy. I mean, if they love the house, and that's why I wait till then, because if they love the house, they're at the point where they will do, they'll do whatever, whatever you say, they'll do, they want this house, that they're in that moment where they'll do anything they can to get the house. So of course they'll take 5 minutes to a pre-approval. And then you utilize Jessica or, whoever Cross Country to win that contract. And then really the ball's in Cross Country's court. I mean, yeah, they have to fight the other bank, but at least it gives them a shot, and normally I've seen them always match or win, but it's not your job to, I guess, sell the mortgage. Your job is just to throw the ball over in that court and let them be competitive. At the end of the day, you support what's best for your client. But what I've found is that I don't think aside from one guy who worked at a bank, I never had anybody that I got to do the pre-approval go back to their old lender for Cross Country. So I mean, that is a big thing. Obviously, someone doesn't have a pre-approval, it's relatively easy, especially if you're doing showings after 5 o'clock at night, because it is the easiest thing. If you're doing showing and someone doesn't have a pre-approval, which I know a lot of agents don't, I will show a home without a pre-approval, and it's after 5 and they actually like it, it's easy. I mean, here's the app, she'll approve it tonight, don't worry about it. You know, or a weekend. So without pre-approvals, or hopefully you guys don't have issues doing that. But what I think is a lot of agents don't take the effort to do it. And it's really important, just beyond the fact that they take good care of their clients, and, you know, and they're available and they help you win. I mean, think of it from when I say relationship standpoint, it's like, if so I've closed 95 deals, if I've sent cross country $1 million in business a month, and I want to throw a marketing fundraiser to help a cause that I love, and also to market myself and to market them. I mean, because they're local, I could literally walk in there, go to the, you know, to the president, or, you know, whatever you guys call him, and say, hey, I want to throw a fundraiser. You know, it's going to cost $2,000 or $3,000. We pay it. I sent you $1 million of business. You guys can, you know, throw your logo on some stuff. We'd probably say yes, because of that relationship, and, you know, it's helping the community, it's brand awareness. But when did I do something wrong?
No, that's just a reminder. You're good.
Okay. But when I say relationships, what I noticed is when you start in real estate as a business, it feels like you're very alone. Nobody calls you to buy homes. Nobody calls you to sell homes. You got to call everybody, and you're just sitting there like on an island. But as you start selling and you know, things, and it's almost like people come onto your island. You know, you get cross country on your island, your title company, you know, insurance guy, whoever. All these people work with them, and they're all starting to surround you and bringing in their own things. And it's like you just have so many more resources, you know, available to you as you build relationships. You know, using the island analogy, maybe I don't know how to make fire, but you know, maybe Jessica's staying on the island with me and she knows how to make fire. You know, and my title company knows how to hunt. And I just sit back and collect checks. But no, it's really all about just branching out and these and building relationships with referral partners. I mean, number one thing is your referral partner has to do a good job, or you don't send them, because if you refer somebody that's a bad job, you know, it looks bad on you. But the thing is, I can say about cross country is they've always done a good job. It's helped me win the amount of offers I have. I mean, I think 95, and I think only 11 of them are listings. So it's a lot of buyers. So it's a lot of, in this market, it's a lot of, I mean, I'm only 21. I look like I'm 40. So you can see how it is. I don't know if I should do questions or.
Yeah, you can do some questions and I'll wrap up.
Oh, okay. Is there questions here or there?
Like, I know we were out of state first, and like not all the banks do business in Ohio, right?
I mean, I haven't ran into the issue because they do. If she doesn't personally, there's somebody at cross country that will. Like Florida, we've done Florida.
Yeah.
Or did we? No, because they were buying here, but Nate does. Or not Nate.
Yeah.
No, Nate.
We have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Jonah does. No, sorry. Yeah, both in the Bible. Yeah, one was in a whale, one was in an ark.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, let's say I have like an investor
Mhm.
who says I bank at like a small credit union, like based out of like LA. They're not going to do a loan in Ohio, right?
Their credit union won't do a loan in Ohio, probably, most likely. Oh, that'd be easy. Yeah, you're gonna have to get here. Even people with credit unions. So I bank at CSE. You know, CSE is my bank. I bank at credit union. People with credit unions tend to be like the most like loyal to their bank, but also because they're like, oh, I'm a member of a credit union. But it's the same sort of thing. I mean, once you open eyes, be like, okay, because you're there to help them buy a home, right? They don't know much about buying homes. Well, an investor might, you know, and if he's got a established relationship with his credit union or a lender that he's used 8 times, that's going to be hard. You know, if he's just consistently used them, you're probably not going to be there. You can bring it up, but that guy's probably not switching, you know. But most people in residential real estate that, you know, are buying or new to buying home, or they have bought a home before, but they weren't married to their bank. You know, it was just whoever the last guy recommended, or they walked into their bank. So as you're there, and as soon as you say, because most people like to be smart shoppers, as soon as you say, well, the smart thing to do would be to, get, I mean, I've said this before, and, smart thing to do if they have a pre-approval would be to get another pre-approval, make them fight each other, to get you the best deal. And people are like, oh yeah, it's a great idea. I mean, if I got a pre-approval and I say, a smart move financially, because you're there to be expertise and advice, would be to get a second pre-approval. Then you can go to your bank with their pre-approval and, just see who will give you the best deal. If you're having a really hard time flipping someone, you can always hit them with that. You don't really want to be delayed or the problem of them like really trying. You want to know, especially when you write the offer, you're going to write with Cross Country's offer. You're going to send the letter. She's going to call the listing agent. She's going to do that, and you're going to relay it to that client. You're going to relay everything that she just did. Like my attorney guy Saturday, I let him know that she called the listing agent and she was a big part of why we got accepted. At that point in time, he was like, yeah, I'll just go with her. But if you just, I mean, people appreciate that because it's also very, very true. If I mean, how many times have I seen like interest rate or her beat an interest rate? I don't know if you actively did it or it was just naturally, but them say, oh yeah, it was 2.7% over there, and it was going to be 3 some over there. Or I mean, if you're having a real hard time, and smart buyers, especially in the higher price range, are smart, they'll appreciate you and trust you more for that too. So I mean, as you do more deals and write more deals, you get sort of more experiences with that word track. But I really like using Cross Country because it's very less stressful. It's less stressful for me. I mean, we've never had a deal fall through. We've never ever lost a deal due to, like, aside from like an inspection issue, we might have lost one or two, but from the lending side. And I've had people have real estate properties that never paid their taxes on them. They're $20,000, $30,000 behind taxes. She worked out a payment plan with the city. We had a guy who didn't pay any federal taxes. He was 20 grand behind. She helped me delay a listing agent for 3 months. We still got it while she worked with the IRS and got an exemption. We got it closed yesterday. That was a $400,000 property. So I mean, when you have a lender that's willing to help you, like, work with a listing agent, we will close, is that always helps. And I mean, I've had people switch jobs and all sorts of craziness. And if you have someone self-employed or so I'll tell people this too, because they'll be like, oh, your approval's at Huntington. I was like, didn't you say you're self-employed? They're like, yeah, and they want this house. I'd be like, listen, Huntington, and just go there. Huntington's a big box bank. The mortgage officer doesn't have a lot of control. He basically just takes your application and sends it out to corporate. So if there's any obstacle, there's any road bump, it's going to delay us a lot. Now, I think that we would have a better, this seller wants a quick closing. I think we'd better have a better chance, especially you being self-employed, if you went to a local lender, because they're going to talk to you, they're personal, they have a little bit more flexibility, and we can call them at 8 o'clock at night. They never stop working. Yeah, or later, 8 or later. And then they're like, oh, okay, and they'll do that, because it's true. Self-employed people, and I'll tell them, if you get any sort of obstacle, any sort of hair, you switch jobs, anything like that, I would love for you to go here, because she's going to make this smooth, and we can close quicker. Because Huntington, Chase, PNC, all that stuff, you're not going to see it under a 30-day close. I write 20-day closes for her. And then nobody like, yeah, but they can make it happen. But at the same time, you're going against 40 other offers. I'm not afraid to put some just pressure on her. Because then I can call listing agent and man, my people are so good. We're gonna close in 20 days. We're gonna put $3,000 earnest money down. There's a whole lot that goes into writing the contract beyond lender. I got a top lender. Matter of fact, she's gonna call you in 5 minutes. We're good to go. We're just gonna be smooth. Your people are gonna get paid. You're gonna get paid. I'm gonna get paid. 20 days. Let's go. And the listing agents, they love that. And I started doing it because when I was a listing agent, I had a lot, I had a property with 10 offers, and what I noticed is like 8 of them were basically the same offer. So how do you decide? You got 8 offers. It goes by, lender, who you start calling lenders, and you go, who's the most likely to close? Because as a listing agent, your number one fear is that you're gonna have to go back on the market. One of these people aren't good. It's who's most likely to close. Lenders, communication with the other agent is strong. Melissa, like if you just send in an offer and forget about it, it doesn't do well. But anything else? I don't know how to check if there's people chatting or not. No? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I'll be here all week.
Okay, so Dan, really said it best. It's really just, some people, if you don't ask, you don't know. So at the end of the day, we want our relationship to be built with our agents. Like, you guys are our first clients, really, when you think about that. I mean, we want to see you grow. Like, we're here in this office literally just to make sure your mortgages are processed properly. So at the end of the day, it is a relationship, and we want to keep that momentum going. So the way to do that is just simply asking your client if they're open to talking to another lender. I am an extremely ethical lender, which I know that should go without being said, but there's just some that are not. So if the client comes to me and I can't do anything better for them, I'm going to tell them, like, hey, the offer you have is pretty rock solid. Like, there's really nothing else that we can do for you. Now, if we can, we will always match. Like, we never want to lose a client to, let's say they did find a better rate. We will always match the rate. So if they can get the same rate as they were getting and then work with the local lender and not have to go through a big bank, at the end of the day, that's typically going to give them the benefits of both worlds. So they keep their low rate, or we get them a better rate, lower closing costs, and then get them working at a local feel. And I really, I love, Dan, that you've been so supportive to us and we have that relationship. But at the end of the day, and I've seen this happen so many times, the customer is going to remember the entire process. So if you can control and educate them on an experience, and you can provide that experience to them, they're going to get more referrals. And that's really, Dan, like, I really feel like you get a lot more referrals because your process does go so smoothly, and if things come up, we work them out and we get the client qualified. Like, he's had some really challenging loans that have, definitely pushed me to like thinking outside the box, but the other banks are not going to do that for your client. They're going to tell them they're denied and they're going to move on, or they just don't have the education to know what to do, like in the IRS situations, because they're process takers, they're application takers. The front line is not your first offense. Like, we at our company are your first offense because we want to make sure that we're getting the client into the home. So it really is truly about building that relationship, making sure that your client has the best experience, and controlling what you can control. And I have a couple agents that use this, and I love this. When the client comes to me already pre-approved, they say to him, or the client, you either need to have a very good personal relationship with your lender, or I do. One of us has to have a good personal relationship, because if not, who's working on your behalf? And most of the time it's kind of like a little bit of a light bulb. They're like, oh yes, I do need to know this. The lending piece of it is one of the most important pieces of the whole entire transaction, because if they're not qualified properly, or if something comes up, overlays, like, there's a million things that can go wrong during a transaction. So you just want to make sure that your customer is getting, the most support that they're going to get. And we will definitely, do everything that we can to get the client closed. Now, just a couple other things. We've mentioned a few things about, bringing it up to the client, because I do hear a lot of times, like, it's the most uncomfortable conversation to have. They don't know how to bring it up. They don't know what to say to them. I did talk briefly a little bit earlier about just simply asking them, are you okay with my preferred lender reaching out to you? The reason why you want to do that is because if you give them my phone number and they're already pre-approved, chances of them calling me are highly unlikely. They're probably not going to call me unless you've given them significant information to want to switch, which we don't really expect you to do that. I want to do that. I want to tell them about the appraisers. I want to tell them about what the benefits are working locally. You know, that's more of my lane. So if you could just get them to call, that's really half the battle. And then I go over all the benefits of working with our company, and then they make an educated decision if they even wanted to apply. The other thing that I hear a lot of like the biggest obstacles is the credit. Well, I don't want my credit pulled again. So typically, if the client has had a pre-approval within the past 30 days, they're going to be perfectly fine as far as another inquiry. Now, it is another hard pull, but credit institutions expect a certain amount of inquiries for the same reason that will not hit them as hard as if they're out shopping for a car and then they come to me for a mortgage and then they open up a credit card. Then it's looking like they're having their credit erratically pulled, and that will start to tend to bring the scores down. But if they have multiple inquiries for the same reason, it's perfectly fine within normally a 30-day period. I've even had some pull like after 30, and it's like a point or two, which isn't, you know, going to affect the loan. And typically we save them, you know, thousands over the life of the loan as far if it comes to rate or closing costs or, you know, things like that. The other thing too is it's really like most of the time when I get my second opinions from my agents, the first lender that they talk to did not go over anything. They don't know what loan they're qualified for, whether it's FHA or conventional. They don't know if they need closing costs covered. They don't know what their payment is. They have zero clue on what's going on. And so I'll have clients say, or agents send me a client, they're like, oh, they want to shop for a $200,000 mortgage. And then I go over the payment with them and they're not even, they want to spend $1,000 on their payment. So they weren't just like properly advised on the ins and outs of what their loan is. And does that create a good experience for the client? They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what the expectations are. Like, you know, just that alone. I tell every single one of my clients before they make an offer on a house to send me the address, because I want the client to know their payment. I want them to know their estimated out-of-pocket expenses. And I want the agent to know whether they have to ask for closing costs or not, because there's a lot of first-time home buyers that don't qualify unless they get closing costs covered. So again, just creating that education for your client, making them sure that they're comfortable with the entire transaction. I mean, some people only buy 2 or 3 houses in their lifetime. So if they have that good experience with you up front, and you just took them from a lender that didn't give them any information, and now you've provided them with somebody that is answering their phone on the nights and weekends, going over the entire process and making them feel comfortable, I promise you that is going to give you more referrals. They will refer you then to their family, their friends, whoever it may be. I get referrals all the time just from people that, you know, are buying their parents' house, or I have one right now, he's buying his sister's condo, and like, then that creates even more referrals, you know, from there. So it's creating that good experience for your client and hopefully getting more referrals in the future, getting them qualified, and just, you know, giving a good overall process for them. So if you are feeling like you're not comfortable with it, you know, schedule a one-on-one appointment with us. We can go over, you know, more ways. We can role play, we could do objections on how you say it to the client to get them to talk to us. And then we can kind of go from there. So I appreciate you guys coming, listening to Dan and I. We are an awesome team. I hope to make relationships with all of you. I mean, Cliff and I are both here, and we have Haley that's here too, to make sure that you guys are getting that powerhouse team as well. We want to do that for everybody. Is there any specific questions? Yes.
Yeah, so, and I'm sorry if this is awkward, but
Yeah.
like, do you guys compete against each other? Like, does it matter if I call Cliff, you, or Haley, or are you guys all one team that comes from the same pool?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We get that question a lot. So Haley and I are on a team specifically together. So her and I work directly together, and then Cliff and I are on a team, but like in a broader like spectrum, because Cliff and I are in the same branch. But yes, Cliff has his own team, and then Haley and I are together. So again, at the end of the day, we just want you using cross country because we know the process that the customer is going to get is going to be top notch. So it doesn't matter if you use any of us. We just want to make sure you're being, yeah. Or you can blow Cliff up all the time. He won't care. Yeah.
I have another question for you.
But remember, it's like,
That's why we're here.
and it's relationship building. So like
Yeah.
you want to build a relationship with a loan officer.
Yeah.
So, you know, you do. I mean, so at the end of the day, you want to work with somebody that you're comfortable with, who's answering your phone calls, like that's, you know, that you have that connection with. So, I mean, you could definitely round robin. I have some that round robin. I have some that are, you know, they're like, nope, you know, Cliff's my dude and we want that. We want, or like Dan, I'm Dan's girl, you know, like we want those relationships to be built. So you find what works best for you. And as long as it's cross country, we're good with it.
And then what's like local too, so like Cleveland to like New Philadelphia to Alliance to like, what do you call local?
I saw one in Mansfield.
Yeah. So that's a great question. Ohio, yeah,
So,
Ohio,
Yeah.
yeah.
All the
We are
same.
we are both licensed in the state of Ohio. So when I say local, I mean like Ohio because, you know, we're still not sending it out of state. We're doing it locally here. And we do so much business. Cross Country Mortgage, our branch that Cliff and I are in, is the #1 in the country. We are the #1 branch as far as processing and volume and units. So I'm sorry, not volume, because you know, California and Florida, we can't compete with those big
Yeah,
ones, but
absolutely.
those prices matter. But as far as like the processing and the efficiency, we are #1. And you should tell that to your clients. Like you should say, this, brag about us. like, yeah, we can't brag about, like, I don't tell my clients when they call me, I'm the, you know, top female loan officer in the state. That would just be weird. But if you guys say it and you say, do you want to work with a top loan officer in the entire state? This is Jessica. And typically they would want to, you know, they get excited about that. It's like, you know, if you're having heart surgery, do you want like just, you want the #1 surgeon, like, you know, like you want.
Success breeds success.
It
You know what I
does.
mean? So that's just what it's all
And
about.
you tell them, hey, you know, this branch I'm referring to you, this bank that I'm referring to you, they are #1 in Ohio and in the country for cross country mortgage. And, you know, we do have the partnership with the Browns now, so that's pretty exciting. You see cross country's name all over the place. Yeah. Yeah, we're the official sponsor for the Browns, mortgage sponsor. So all those little things are just going to make them feel more comfortable, and it could easily, that's how you could easily transition from whoever they're pre-approved with, like work with the top lenders, work with the top branch in Ohio. I'm literally setting you up with the best of the best here.
Have you moved over to this building yet?
So we don't have a particular office yet. We're still working on that with management, but Cliff or I or Haley, like we can come here anytime. I mean, anytime. You would just need to schedule an appointment. Like if you want us to be with your buyers when you meet with your buyers, we can do that too. Like you can say to them, do you want a lender present? And if they say yes, I mean, you just got to give us some notice, but we will easily figure out a way to meet with your buyers at that time, or we could do a Zoom, or, you know, I mean, there's so much. I will tell you, 95% of the clients don't want to meet in person. They want fast. They want it now. They want to be pre-approved. And we want to get them pre-approved fast too, because it creates momentum. Like I have people all the time call me and say, I'm not looking to buy for 3 to 6 months. I get them pre-approved. The agent knows they're pre-approved. They go under contract within a couple months. I mean, if they can get their offers accepted, but I mean, it creates that sense of urgency. It creates awareness that they want to get going with it. So yeah, we'll come here anytime you need us to.
And like Jess said too, I mean, every once in a while, you're gonna get a client that, you know, wants that one-on-one face, you know, relationship up front. They want to see who they're dealing with. I mean, I had a guy just the other day. I mean, you know, good old guy, you know what I mean? He's like, look, I want to come shake your hand first if I'm gonna be talking about money with you. You know what I mean? So I'm like, absolutely no problem. We'll get you, you know, set up a time for you to come into the office. We can meet, we can talk things before I even told his credit. He wanted to meet me first.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I know with COVID and things like that, things are getting a little bit, you know, loosened up in that regard, but if they feel comfortable with meeting in person, you know, the mask, whatever we want to do, we're gonna make sure that
Yeah.
they're comfortable in that situation.
Yep.
So don't disregard that. We're gonna be absolutely one.
And don't feel, you know, and don't feel defeated if you get that one client that doesn't want to talk to us. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
They're gonna know their mom's best friend or, you know, whatever it may be. But if, and I've even had people switch, you know, too, when they did know the person personally, but don't feel defeated if you can't get, you're not gonna get every client to talk to us. But the more, it's really about the more you ask, the more effort you put in, the stronger the relationship we build with you. And then you'll see for yourself. Like I have agents that, I mean, they feel so confident about it that they won't even let their, like, they literally won't have their buyer talk to anybody else. There, but it's the way that you present it and your comfortability level. Everybody's different. So we have a lot of great agents in this office that support cross country, that send us a ton of business. So, you know, if there's anybody else that you want to speak with too about recommendations for any of us, we can let you know too. So I don't think there's any in the chat. No, any questions for the Zoom people on Zoom? Yeah, I just looked.
Yeah. They feel confident in us.
Yeah. All right. Well, we really appreciate you guys coming in. If you have any questions, you want to schedule any one-on-ones, just let us know. And we're here to help. So
And then these are gonna be
thank you,
something
guys.
like you guys can have
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to try to do them, depending upon, you know, what everybody's